everyone, and welcome to the Business of Parenthood podcast brought to you by Scotiabank. I'm your host, Emprezz Golding, and I'm joined today by two parents, Jason Ferguson from the Bahamas and Sharon Wheatle-Redwood from Jamaica, and they are both a part of the Scotiabank team. So often we forget that parenting is a business. I can tell you I'm a mom of two. Checks and balances, making ends meet to make sure our little ones have all they need. And that's what we're talking about today as we head into back to school time. So let's welcome our very special parents. Jason Ferguson, let's start with the Bahamas. Welcome to the Business of Parenthood podcast. How are you?
Empress, hello. I am great. Thanks for asking. Happy to be here.
Yes, Daddy. Good to have you. And Sharon Wheatle-Redwood from my home country. Super mom. Nice to see you, Sharon. How are you, Sharon?
I am doing good, and I'm happy to be here. Always excited to share my journey because it's a journey.
Yeah.
Yes. Motherhood, parenting is a journey. Let's start with you then, Sharon. You have 4 children. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your mommy journey.
Okay, so as you say, mother of 4, I didn't really start having children until like 7 years after marriage. And it was like 1 in 2004, 1 in 2005, 1 in 2007. And then I got a break and went to 2012. But parenting is one of those responsibilities that I take really serious. I don't want to fail at this. And so it has been an exciting journey. It's a lot of work, but I look forward to that. And so I'll be dropping off. Some Saturdays I'm driving whole day from football training, carry that other one to football training, that to dancing, but I'm loving the journey, to be honest.
You're loving the journey.
I'm loving
I don't know if I'm loving the journey. I'm still trying to process it. But we'll talk about that journey and some of the trials and some of the challenges that we face. Mm-hmm. And let me hear from you, Jason. Tell me about your beautiful children and how old are they?
Yeah, so I have 2 children. I have a boy and a girl. I think my daughter will feel upset that I mentioned my son first.
Lord have mercy.
Because when they're close together, they're very competitive, right? So my daughter, her name is Jada. I call her Bunches affectionately. She's 17, gonna be 18 next month. Right? And then I know, right? So those driving lessons have been very interesting. And and then my son, he's 16. He's a junior. I had to do it. So he's a Jason Junior. And I call him Champ affectionately. What I enjoy most just about parenting them both is just the development of their personality and their mindset. That's really exciting for me.
Nice. Wow. So it's back to school time for all of us. Let me just pick up my children. They'll say, you didn't mention me. So I have a son going to high school. And that's a whole new experience, right, Sharon?
Yes.
And I also have a daughter who's going to grade 2. So let's talk about back to school now. Jason, you have a child going into grade 12 and one going into university. Let's talk the costs. What does it look like? I'm not there yet. Help us to understand how much you have to put away for your children this new school year.
So great question. So listen, I have one word that helps me. So particularly for this year, right? Scholarships, scholarships, scholarships. Okay. So my son, let's just start with him because he's in high school now. He recently he runs the 800 and performs really well. So for this year, his high school actually gave him a partial scholarship. So listen, I told them keep it up because that's more than likely going to transcend into college. Mm-hmm. And then my daughter, so the high school scholarship really helped me a lot this year. And then my daughter also applied for a scholarship because she's studying culinary arts and she got a full ride. Okay, so listen very carefully. Just making sure, and how we got to this point is encouraging them in their strengths, encouraging them in their passions. And when they're in an area that they're passionate about, they develop and they do really well. Correct. And then they're rewarded. And in this instance, with scholarships. So that has been a blessing for me this particular year.
Wow.
So your son runs the 800 meters, you said? He's an athlete?
Yes, he is.
So let's go there for a minute. You know, you said the child must be passionate about something. When they're passionate about their extracurricular, they will perform well. And then it helps for them to get a scholarship. Yes. And so I want to encourage your parents listening to not tell your children it's just academics alone. The extracurricular does help to have a wholesome and wholesome, well-balanced child. Yes. But what about the other expenses, Jason? So you have the scholarship, but then we have the book bag, and these children who want fancy books, and then they want this new brand, and then they want the fancy, expensive shoes. I mean, what are the other costs that you see incurring as you prepare them for the new year?
So for me, this year is a different cost for him because he's going to be a prefect this year. And they're ordering blazers for them, and they're ordering specialty shirts for them. So I had to actually come out of pocket a little more for his uniforms than I had to for this particular year. Now, what helped me is that the scholarship kind of eased the burden a little. So I guess the school still got the money in a different fashion, right?
Yes.
And then in terms of his shoes, so here's what I do for my son, all right? I buy expensive brands for him, particularly for shoes, because they last longer. Okay? So in the Bahamas, Clarks is a really big brand. And his Clarks, his foot did not grow from last year to this year, and his Clarks are in great condition.
Praise the Lord.
Okay? And I told him something very funny. I said, son, because he likes to play basketball at times too. And 1 or 2 times I picked him up from school and he's playing basketball in his shoes. I said, okay. I said, I just want you to know that should there be a hole in these shoes before the end of the school year, you and I are going to go 50-50 on getting the new pair of shoes. Okay? Let's just say he straightened up since that conversation.
I was going to ask, where is he getting that money from? You know, does he work? Does he have a summer job?
So I give him an allowance.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do that because I want him to understand money, and then I want him to understand the value of money. And I also use it as a discipline tool as well, because as children go older, we probably stray away when it comes to discipline from the physical aspect of things. If you catch my drift, right? So for him, he's very passionate about his money. He has his own bank account with Scotiabank, of course, and he's very passionate about his money. So what I use that for is just a little tool to say, hey, listen, you get rewarded with an allowance if you perform well, and if you don't, then you may have to do a little transfer from your account, and that really keeps him very much so in line. So yeah, that's the fun balance we kind of have going on in my household here.
I like that. Teaching them financial management early. Very important. And there are consequences when you don't perform. Very good lessons there, Dad. Let's go to Sharon, who has 4. Sharon, where are the children now? And your school fees must be crazy. 4 children. I'm struggling with 2. Tell me how you being able to do this.
When it came to university, I started thinking, how is that going to go? But I applied for scholarship for work, and in the category that I'm at, we don't give out a lot of scholarship, but Scotia give a lot of scholarship in another category. But in the category I'm at, just a few. So I prepared that boy for that interview. Come and say, look here, you need to get a scholarship. And we prepared for the interview, and God was good. He got it. And
congrats. So he got a scholarship through your work.
Through Scotia. And they all got scholarship through high school too from Scotia. Scotia is an excellent employer.
I need a job at Scotia.
So excellent. I have to tell you. So Israel, Emmanuel, and Isabel, they all got scholarship for high school. Emmanuel, Israel is on a scholarship. And I'm like, look here, come September, I keep saying I'm going to have 3 children in university. And my friend Rosemary Edwards, she said to me, Sharon, I want you to stop saying it like that. Like, oh God, I have 3 children. She said, can you imagine? I have 3 children at university. So, I applied for my son, Emmanuel. He's doing sports science. Jason spoke about it, the curriculum. all my 4 children are footballers, all 4.
Mm-hmm.
So Israel, when he started UTech, he played Super League. But when he started UTech, he made the UTech team and also his faculty team. Emmanuel is a baller, love football, plays for club, but recently started training with Arnett Gardens premier team. And God is good, he got a sports scholarship for UTech.
Wow.
So 2
Look
down
at
out
that.
of 3. So I've applied for Isabel and I'm waiting for it. I'm believing. So that thing about their talent and it making room for them. My daughter Isabel, she's also a footballer. Currently, she's in China with the Reggae Girls on a developmental camp for 2
Oh,
months.
she is.
Yes.
Oh, we're both raising ballers.
Ballers.
So you know, I have 2 footballers.
I know,
as well.
including a girl.
And we have a similar journey.
You know what? Let me tell you what I've come to realize. You see, when you have gone through a journey of having to believe and have faith to get those resources to take care of your children, and when you see them happen and they come through, your heart don't jump as much. You're concerned, but your heart, you have a confidence that, look here, I did it before and it's going to happen again. So yes, I have a little saying, where's the money going to come from? We are going to get the money. But look here, you see, when the end of the school year, at the end of grade 6, and I see that all the fees were paid and the graduation fee, because graduation fee is another thing, the graduation and the pictures, I'm like, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
We made it. We made it. And
Yes.
guess what? What was significant is that this year I had pretty much 3 graduation. Thanks be to God, we didn't have graduation, but I had graduation from Arden and I had graduation from Emmanuel Christian Academy all at once, and at the same time preparing 2 additional children for university. I mean, yeah, during that time I felt like this is a journey, and I said, there are times when it looked like I wasn't going to make it, and but my husband is the man of faith, and him always says, Sharon, it's too late to worry now. If we come this far, it's too late to worry now. But we made it. Even when I was at Arden graduation, I'm like, gosh, we made it. And I'm saying, yes.
We did. I say we like I'm there with you.
Yeah, man,
I'm not there yet. But some days I too feel it. Yeah. Some days I feel like, when I look at the bills, and I want to ask you all, people talk a lot of fancy stuff, and I wonder if people really do it. Like, oh, you've got to plan, you got to write it down, you need to be organized, you have to budget, you have to save. I mean, is it that you just make it through, or do you really have this template that you plan everything? And how do you even plan? I feel I spend more than I earn every single month, and I don't know how God does it. It's magical.
No, it's magical indeed.
How do you do it? Let's ask Jason, and then Sharon can come in. And you both are in the banking business,
Yes.
How do you do it?
So listen, always plan, okay? But always be prepared to pivot on your plan. And I have 2 teenagers, and there are sometimes expenses that come up throughout the term I did not plan for, okay? And you find out about these expenses, and the deadline for them is literally the next day. So, for example, I talked about my son needing a blazer because he's a prefect. Do you know when I found out about that blazer and the $150 that it's going to cost me? Okay, he came to me earlier this week, actually, Tuesday. Hey, Dad, they said I need a blazer. And I'm like, okay, so when do you need it for? Oh, the deadline is today. I said, okay, the deadline is today. Okay,
Nice.
for you to what? To get measured? To get your measurements? He said, yes. So I'm like, okay, so when is the deadline? He said, 2 o'clock. Do you guys know what time he told me this? 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock that same day. So I feel like teens operate in a different time space than we do. So having a budget or having a plan is a must, because you must understand your resources. You have to understand your capacity. But what I like to enter, and I do this at work as well, I understand that there are going to be things that I'm not going to plan for, and I have to quickly pivot. So that may mean I may need to pay less on a particular bill that I was going to on this month and shift that around to a different area, okay?
So one must be able to pivot financially.
Yes,
You must be able to say, all right, this has come up, so maybe I won't pay the light bill.
Well,
All of
Praise
the light bill today
God.
to buy the blazer. So we're allowed to do that, right? We can pivot and decide who gets our money this month. But I mean, Jesse, you wanted to continue saying something.
no, I agree. That's it. You have to pivot, but you can only pivot well if you plan. Because to your point, and you have to know how to prioritize. Because Empress, to your point, if I don't pay the light bill, but I pay the utility bill, I pay the internet bill, that's not going to be very smart, right? That's not going
Huge.
to
No
help me.
schoolwork can go on.
Okay?
No
All right?
light.
And then the internet's working, but we don't have any power going into the internet. So no. You have to
Right.
pivot, but you have to be wise, and it all starts with a plan so you can know, because you have to manage your credit. So because you don't want to damage your credit for when you actually need it. All right. So pivoting and knowing how to pivot wisely is key.
Wow.
Mm. And what about you, Sharon? I remember, and I want to speak openly
Yeah.
about this, because sometimes we show up,
Yeah.
women, men, we show up like we have it all
Yeah,
together.
man.
And at the same school where we our children attend, or
Yes.
yours attended, moving to high school now, and my son as well. There were times when I had to call and say, listen, I'm having a bad month. I know I look like I have it all together, but that school fee, and then Mrs. Golding, or we're waiting
Yeah.
on the school fee, and I'm like, okay, principal, I'm a beg a little bly here. I would like to pay a little bit today, even though we have this platform. Could
Yes.
you just make an exception? Sometimes we show up and we're afraid to say, I don't have it today. And I want to talk about that, let's be open now.
Yeah.
Frank. There are days when we don't have it. Or maybe you guys have it. There are days when we don't have it. So how do you openly and honestly say to the person that you owe, whether it's a school or whatever, or a cousin you need to help to buy the Clarks this month, how do you say, listen, I don't have it all together this month, and be okay with that, owning that we don't always have it together. Let's go there for a minute.
Okay.
The financial challenges in the business of
Of
parenting.
Very
parenting.
good.
Well, and I just like to keep it real, right? Because you can only imagine along my journey, there has been times. So when school is out, I immediately start looking about the school books, because at that time at the bookstore, they don't get the new stock as yet. So these are at a different cost. If you wait until August, I can assure you the cost is going to go up. And then I buy books from a place called Brian's Bookstore. And because I buy so many books, I get discount, right?
Okay.
And they have a discount thing where you have membership. So I have the highest membership. So when I go to buy books, that's where I go, because I know I can get, say, a 10% on books, and I'm going to get another 15% on something else, stationery. So I immediately start looking about the books. So sometimes I will say to them, I don't have the money yet, and I'll say, these are the books. Can you put them down for me? I'm coming back for them at X time. So I get the books out the way.
I like that. So knowing when to buy is important. Knowing to sign up for the memberships and opportunities that are there. Look for them.
Look for them.
Do a cost analysis across the different platforms for books. That's very important. Now let me ask you, Jason and Sharon. So my son's going to high school, as I mentioned. He's going to Campion, and I have other friends there, and they called me, and of course they're putting me on everything PTA, and I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not that mom, but they called me and said that the parent association that they have there, equivalent to a PTA, and they said, Emprezz, go and get these books. So I went and bought my son all secondhand books.
Oh, that's correct.
First time in my life, because when I saw the cost of the books, I said no. Because Sharon, in prep school, I looked through his old books. They didn't even use up half of the books.
Even the workbooks.
Yes.
So I'm like, what am I gonna go and get? No. So I bought the books, right, with other people's name all over it, some of it written up, and he looked at the books. But here's the joke, Sharon and Jason. He looked at the books and he's like, Mom,
I used to that.
I said, no. Learn secondhand, honey. Secondhand. It's only 1 year. You rub out their name, write your name on it. This is what we're working with. Have you guys ever done that?
Oh, for sure. So for me, what I've had the benefit of is natural secondhand books because my daughter and my son went to the same school. All right. So and they did some of the same classes. All right. So I was able to save some of the books from my daughter and pass them on to my son. And then
Correct.
what I love about the school that Champ goes to is they actually sell books at a discount, used books
Good.
at a discount because previous students would have returned the books to the school because they don't need them.
That's what
Right?
that's what his school did as well, and I think it's a
Yeah.
brilliant
Excellent idea.
Yes.
Yeah, and even we're talking about the business of parenting. I mean, parents handing them in, and the actual parenting association is now able to raise funds
With
from
it.
selling them
Yes.
back
Yes.
at a discounted price. So it's
Listen.
definitely a great idea. What about the business of lunch? I'm trying to figure
Oh,
this stuff out.
gosh.
Sharon and Jason, you guys probably have more experience. Like I said to my son, well, during prep school, we would pack lunch and of course buy lunch at the canteen. That lunch bill is expensive,
Yeah.
man.
Very expensive.
What do you
Yeah,
do?
lunch.
So
What can we do to reduce those costs?
you see, lunch bill is one of those big bills. So we talk about school fee. So remember, it's not just lunch bill to but you have the snacks. And I never did juice. I mean, at first I didn't do juice because I'm saying it was too expensive. And of course the sweetness and stuff. But the first thing was really the expense. And then I realized, but water is of great benefit here for them. So for all of her time at Arden, she cooks her own lunch. So she'll do those vegan stuff and she pack it and her food tastes good. So she really saved me and really and truly, me should have still give her the lunch money, but me say good, nice savings. But
Yes,
it's
working
$1,000.
together.
And my sons,
Yeah.
they are not into carrying food to school. It's a no-no. Even when I gave them, when they were in primary school, I never have dog food, so because they don't eat it. They take, if they're going to carry it, if I say to them, guys, I'm a little short on funds today, will you take lunch? No, we stay hungry.
What is it about these boys? Mine has already told me. I'm like, do you need a lunch bag for high school? He's like, no, mom, that's cringe.
It's not cool.
We buy lunch. I'm like,
Not
okay,
cool.
you need a job, kid. You need a
Okay.
job.
Yeah.
Because I have a similar experience. My daughter and my son, when they were in school, I agree with you, Sharon. That lunch bill, I just had to bite the bullet on it. Because neither of them wanted to take lunch to school. All right. So my son now, I give him, I think, up to about 15 US, no, 20 US, no, actually 50 US per week.
We'll calculate it up there.
Okay, and that's about 200 per month. That's not including what we like going to the grocery, right?
Right.
So what I saw, and it's because they don't want to take lunch, right? So what I've seen though is I've been buying a lot of the snacks that they've been getting in school. I buy those and have those at home.
Correct.
Yeah, because it's cheaper.
Because
when you buy it
Yes.
wholesale, it's
Cheaper.
much cheaper.
It
You
is.
might as well start running a business and telling all the parents that your kid will bring their snacks and pay you.
Yes.
Send it to your Scotiabank account. We need to start.
It is
How
true.
do we-
Business Empress.
No, listen to me. The
I must tell
business
you.
money.
Listen, I must tell you, as an entrepreneur myself, I say to my children all the time, especially when they get a little feisty. I know you guys know what that teenage, attitude hormones kicking in can be like. Let's talk about the extracurricular for a minute. So the camp fees, the club fees, the academy fees for extracurricular. So I said to him, son, it's a heavy bill this time of year for us, 6,000 US, how are we going to do this? He's going to pay for his academy and he's going to pay for his school. So I said to him, son, let's come up with some ideas, right? So we talk about financial management, financial literacy, Scotiabank, your kids have an account. I got my son a bank account for his birthday. I don't want to go back there because, they feel very entitled sometimes and I have to just break them down a bit and say, listen, this is how it works. When mommy's not available, daddy's not available, how do we help them to start to see that takes a lot, and for them to start thinking of how they're going to earn that entrepreneurial spirit or that let's make my own money.
I totally agree with that, though, to teach them, because you see, I think that sometimes without them even knowing, there's this entitlement thing where they think that they don't know what it could be like, right? So, but one of the things I love about my young men is that they have this entrepreneurial spirit. It frightened me at first, right? Frightened because I guess you're so used to go to school, get a job, and they're into the. I remember them being at JC. Those boys didn't eat their lunch. They were saving. And in lunchtime they would go in the library and have business meeting, and they had a company registered and stuff. And I like that. But as they get older, though, I would love to see that tighten up, because I see like it's slacking off a little. So my old eldest son Israel at JC, he entered the Jamaica Stock Exchange competition, and he came third 2 years straight. So I encourage him, save that money, although I end up borrow a little out of it, though, to help borrow from the children. To help
Yes,
them
I do. I borrowed from my son, and that's so funny. We were. Listen, I brought you into this world. I can take you out. You need to take your money. You owe me.
So, recently he entered, no longer in high school, but he entered the junior investor. And sometimes our children don't realize that certain gifting they have, and you have to help to, move it in the right direction. So he entered the young investor thing, came second, never even check it up. I went to stock exchange and saw the gentleman and said, by chance, how much did Israel come? He went in. Look, he came second. We have 50,000 for him. This is a young man.
Wow.
I said, look here. You see the money there? You need to save them for lunch money. So,
yes.
So right now he's working, and he got 4 offers over the summer. He had to turn down 2, and I'm saying, look here. Just don't go Burger King, and so because by the time you look, the money done. He started driving, right? And last week Friday, Mommy, you can send me some funds for gas. I said, what happened to the money where you earn? So this morning he's going to open another bank account. Me say, what happened to the money where you earn? Me say, when you earn, you start putting aside. You set aside. Him now, him done budget out what him can spend, and it done. But me say, me not have any to send for you. And of course, me end up sending him a little 2,000. So him could reach home.
As we do.
Mommy.
But that teaching them is critical to save.
Yeah.
It's important.
But sounds like you've both done a really good job.
And do you mind if I piggyback on that point before? It's because, so I've done 2 things with my kids. And the education component, listen, YouTube is free. Okay? So I've been having my son listen to the same financial literacy video, like for the day after day, right? Because teens, if they're not interested in it, it's not going to readily grasp their attention.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, you listen to the same video. It talks about investing. It talks about the power of saving. Because I'll be honest, if I knew some of the things that I know now.
Wow, Jason, trust me. I would be weird.
I wish I knew some of the things that I know.
Gosh.
Oh my goodness.
So what we do is prepare them. Right, so it's financial literacy and having them listen to the videos. I also, because he has his own card, I let him subscribe to Blinklist, right? Because what that is he's not a big reader, right? But Blinklist is, and there are different apps that summarize books, right? So that he can get the information, but in bite sizes. And Emprezz, I smiled when you said borrow funds from your kids, right? Because my daughter does a really good job saving, right? And I'm in the bank. So here's what I do, right? And this is the first time I'm actually sharing this. I borrow from my daughter at interest.
I don't want my name to hear the interesting,
I do.
Don't tell mine about that.
Yeah. No, seriously. And I'm like, because you know what? Because I want to teach her the value of money, and I want her to understand. And then I did the same with my son. And then he's like, so you're going to pay me up by this date. So if you're late, do I get late fees?
Yeah, man.
Laughing. But
That's
using
smart.
different creative ways, because we're keeping the money in the family. It's going on their account.
Correct.
And if I'm short, hey, this is what I need. I'll have it to you by such and such a time. And they love it. So yeah, that's the two
Yeah,
things I do.
real life
Wow.
practical
Leave.
experiences.
Jason.
Yes. Let's talk about cell phones. Talking about phones. My son, these kids, he's in grade 6 talking about, Mom, I need an iPhone 15. I
Wow.
said, kid, you need a
What?
what? Mommy doesn't have, I have a 13. You can't have a more expensive phone than these. So the business of technology, we talked about, them wanting the latest fashion shoes. Yes, mine wants those shoes as well, Jason, that you mentioned, because all the kids have it. And it's hard keeping up with the Joneses sometimes. So all of your friends have an iPhone 12. Oh, wow, it's really good for them.
For them.
What do you do? How do we compete? How do we give them what they want, but not give them what they want? What are your positions on the latest phone? I'm sure your kids have all asked for it as well.
Yeah. So we're talking about the business of parenting, right? And in every business, you have to understand what's important and you have to understand the why.
Yes.
So in Scotiabank, we do a cost analysis, right? We see what's the value of this particular piece of technology that we want to introduce and how is it going to help our company win. So for me, both of my kids got cell phones at 15, but here's the wise thing I did. When I upgraded my cell phone, I gave them the phone that I upgraded from. So for years, my daughter, I just got her a brand new cell phone when she graduated from high school. So she got a brand new 13 at that point in time, I think. 13, yeah. Right? And then my son, I upgraded my phone the same time, and he got the phone that I upgraded from. So he's patiently waiting for me to update this current phone.
So you can get it.
So listen, the value though is, let's be honest, keeping in contact with my teens is important. Okay, when they go to track meets, when they go to the after school activities, being able to use the iPhone, to find my iPhone to see where they are. When my daughter goes on dates with her boyfriend, being able to see where they are is key for me. So technology makes the business of parenting easier. There are some traps,
Yes.
but to me, the benefits outweigh those traps.
Right.
But you have to know your children. Okay. In the bank, we have something called KYC. That means know your customer. But
KYC,
for me at home, know your children. Know them.
Better know
so your
them.
customer to children, just the acronym just switches up beautifully.
That's it. Talk to them. Yeah. Understand their movements, their behaviors. You're wise. They're going to try to pull the blind over your eyes sometimes. But you're wise, and technology actually helps me to parent. So there's value, and then there's also going to be some cons, right? But for me, the pros outweigh the cons. What
advice now would you both give to parents, moms, dads? And I want us to consider parents out there, because I say this because there are parents watching who don't have a job. There are single mothers watching, single fathers, and they're really struggling. You both gave some very potent advice, which is, say, be authentic. Authenticity in your experience is important for surviving the storm, of raising children. What advice would you give to parents right now, Sharon? Mothers, single mothers, people who just don't have it, 4, 5, 6 children, tearing their head out. People talking about prep school, but knowing that there's some great primary schools that you can send your children to lessen the financial burden. Speak to the mothers, speak to the fathers who are struggling for you right now, please.
Okay. So one of the things I come to realize is, like, when you talk about, you have to look at your circumstance, which I had to do, even though I probably had 2 jobs, but I had to still look at where I'm at. So sometimes you might want them to go to X school, but then there is Y school that is less expensive and even sometimes better. You understand me? First of all, you have to just say, this is what I have to work with, and I'm going to make it work. So that school where it is not as expensive, but you know that it's good, right? Then you have, what I find we have a lot sometimes, the alumni, the old girls, the old boys, they're always giving back to the school. Always giving back to the school. So tap into that. to get the help.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know that there's a old boys or a old girls association, how can I get books? I usually just, when semester come, I go out. I have a group of friends. I say, which books do you have? You're going to try and get the books. So get the books. And there are times there are people who are willing to help your child.
Mm-hmm.
So they are going to help with the lunch money. You do your part to groom the child and say, look here, you have to do well. Because especially when they're doing well, people are going to go all out to help. Right? And sometimes it's a single mom or a single dad. Sometimes you might not have that other partner, but you know, there are other people who are willing to partner with you. There are other people who are willing to partner with you and say, look here,
Mm-hmm.
daddy not here, but I am here and I can help you with X. And my thing is ask for help. We don't have the time for the pride thing, you know. If you need help,
No.
ask for help.
Mm.
Sometimes there are families there who don't have any children and they have the bandwidth. We'd be more than willing to help, but the child have to also have the right attitude, right, and be willing to work, but ask for help. I remember I know someone, and she said, Sharon, when my sons were going to school, I didn't even, she said, just being there for them, I didn't understand the schoolwork. She said, I don't have the intellect, but I sit up with him at nights. And when I'm doing the maths work, and he said, Mommy, you think this right? She don't know a thing. And she said, but that don't look too bad. But check it over. Just check it over to make sure Sometimes you see, we always think, when we think school fee and expenses, we think finding a lump sum. But I remember at Scotia, we had Scotia Mint. It's an insurance. And you can, when the children are young, you can start with a small amount. I remember talking to a branch manager once, and he said to me, Sharon, when I just started in $1,000 usually pay him, that's $2,000. That's what I could afford. But him say, as things improve, I start putting more. And later, I know that there are parents who are able to cash in. So you don't have to have no whole heap of money. You might even be a single parent, but it's the consistency that matters. Just doing the things that will help you. Go where the help is, and the scholarships. There are places, you know, like even Scotiabank. Scotiabank give a lot of scholarship for inner city students, you know. And sometimes we don't know these things. I remember helping one with a boot camp for a scholarship. And when I hear about the many scholarships that are around the place that people don't know about, I saw a list in a WhatsApp group for UTech, and I saw, I'm kidding you not, about 30 scholarships. And I'm like, them scholarship here? But so you have to get in the know. You have to be intentional. And you know what I find? It's not money do this thing, you know, for a lot of people, you know. I'm telling you the truth. It is stepping out, finding the resources, calling on people. And I believe you me, I feel that as a parent, even single, as you step, do you know you have some of the most successful students now are from some single homes? Do you know that?
Yes.
This is deep. It does not mean you have to have a lot of money for your child to be successful. I mean, history has proven that wrong. Very, very, very important lesson there.
And can I add to that
Jason.
as well? Because listen, first of all, give yourself a break. There is no parent under the sun that has it all together. Okay? No one has it all together. We're all working at it. You may have a parent that has it together financially, but like Sharon mentioned, from the educational side of things, they may not be able to support in that way. All of us have what we call opportunities. So give yourself a break. And I love what Sharon said. Where you're weak, find help.
Yeah.
So if you're weak financially, find help. You can Google, you can search. There are a lot of resources that can help. If you're weak with education on a particular thing, find help again. Use your online resources to seek help. And here's what I do with my kids a lot, okay? I manage my vulnerability with my kids. So there are some things they will not know, because my son is to this day asking me how much money I make. And I'm like, no. Like, but
sorry, Jason, mine ask me that all the time. Why do they ask?
I know. Like, this is not your money. Because he wants to know. Like, no. So, but the thing is, because we're getting back to the business of parenting, right? what I manage my vulnerability with my kids like a CEO would manage his vulnerability with his employees. So if we need to make cuts for certain reasons, and I will share as much as I can to let them see, no, daddy doesn't have it all together. All right. So we may not go on a vacation this year because I need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I will communicate that. Or our vacation may need to be shorter. Instead of going for a week, we're gonna go for a weekend.
Wow.
All right.
I love
And
this.
then so that's
I
right.
love this.
So you have to manage and then communicate because kids know. Whether
Yes.
you believe it,
They're very
they're with
intuitive.
you.
They know
They are, oh my
everything.
They
gosh, they
know.
know.
My sons,
They
they have this
know.
style.
And they're
Yeah.
and they're generally understanding once you communicate it in an authentic way. Okay, because they typically don't have a choice. I mean, you know. So,
Oh
and then the
gosh.
final thing,
Mm-hmm.
at Scotia, so we do have something. We have something called reward cards. Right?
Yes.
Listen,
Yes.
reward cards that give points for towards travel, points cash back. Maximize those cards intelligently, and on our website we do give some guidance in terms of
Mm-hmm.
how to use your credit cards well, because managing your credit cards well can actually help you pay for your summer vacation or your trips. It can really help you cut into costs,
Yeah.
right?
What about your time growing up? I had the greatest parents, and they gave me everything that I needed to survive, succeed. They gave me time, they covered everything. And I want to do that more. Do you believe from your own experiences that you are a product of what your parents did for you? Is that why you're parenting so well and your children are doing good? Is this a legacy thing?
I think it
I
is.
like that
I love
question
it. I never
because
thought
for
of
me,
it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
mhm, for me it's a mixed bag. It's a bit of both.
Mm.
I remember my mom was a teacher, so education was a priority for her. Okay, she didn't want anything other than A's,
Yeah.
right? Like I remember a report card. Let me see. I came second because we did first, second, third in terms of highest grade point average. Oh, I came second or third. No, she's a teacher. No, you need to come first, right? I remember a tough time my parents had, a tough season towards the later end of my high school experience. I wasn't able to get a uniform in that year. And I guess maybe I had a growth spurt because what I remember is my dad giving me one of his shirts, and I wore that shirt for the
Mm.
better part of the year, just washing it every day. And I had a conversation with my mom, no later than early this weekend. She just told me about, like, I know you guys call it partner, about how she had to use different ASUs and how she had to call the school and tell the school, hey, I'm bringing the school fee. I felt so appreciative of her sacrifice. And what that taught me, though,
Mm.
because my mom, there's a wisdom with money that we need to learn. Okay? And when our parents do the best with the information they have, we keep what worked well, but then we also make changes. So one thing I like about Scotiabank that I'm seeing now, because in my position I'm a sustainment manager, what we look at is our officers are actually skilled to have a conversation with you based on what stage of life you're at and give you practical advice as to
Practical.
where you are now and where you want to go. So for me, I think it's a mixture of learning from my mom and then learning from the systems we have in place at Scotia to help me train and raise my children in a sustainable way.
Mm, mm.
Deep.
And are both your parents still around, Jason?
Yes, yes, they are.
Blessings. Yeah,
Hmm.
blessings. Big up your mommy
Big
anyway.
up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's
So
Jason.
they can come adopt me
Yeah.
because I'm an orphan. I'm looking for a mommy and dad. I'll fly in tomorrow. Sharon,
You
what
know,
about you?
what I like to do is
Yeah.
to be authentic with my children, right? And let them understand. Because sometimes they think money drop from sky, and you have it all. But for me, I really had exceptional parents. I had my
Mhm.
father was, I don't know what, he was selfless. Selfless.
Same.
A phenomenal father. He was there. My father was the sole provider, and my mother was a stay-home mom. And I grew up in South Manchester. And my mother, when I get home from school, she would be there. The food is cooked. She makes sure home is okay. She never start working until I probably was 20 odd. She was always at home. I have three of us. My father, he was an entrepreneur, and let me tell you, he's selfless, and that's one of my. He died young, and at 59, and that's the only regret I have is that my children did not get to see this man in action, because I know they would be gone with him. He would be coming on weekends to take them and gone down to Alligator Pond in Manchester and all over. But I think when I see, sometimes I see my parents in me with a selflessness. I mean, the truth is that I am going to be in it with them every step of the way. And I'm going to do what it takes to make sure, because I saw my parent doing that for me. I remember even when I started working at Scotiabank Crossroad, my father used to come pick me up in the morning, drop me to work. I'll pay the rent. He was there. You take, he would drive up there and he'll drop back his seat and sleep until I'm finished school in the night and take me home. So for me to do this for my children is nothing, because it was done for me. It was done for me. So you see that thing? And so what you are doing now, even for your children, it's really setting a foundation for them, as they go along. And, even the whole business of parenting, what will help you with the struggle of, I need a brand name, I need a this. Sometimes you just have to be authentic with the children. There were times when we went through a financial struggle for 7 years. 7 years. And I remember during that time, my son needed braces because it eat them. And
Mike, listen, I was gonna ask about that, because we want to put some in a film son right because man say my chacha boy, my ball, teeth.
I had to say to, look here, and during that season it was rough, and I had to say to Israel, because he was the oldest one, I gave him a little hint of what was happening, and I said to him, we are going to pray together for this to turn. And he observed and saw when he turned. I mean, where I live is a community where like 10 couples came together. We purchased a piece of land and we build on houses. So we just built what we could move in at the time. Mind you, all these fabulous, high-rising, nice houses. And I remember my boys come to me and say, well, our house look different from everybody else. So I said, it's going to get there. Those houses you see, they didn't start that way. So we are going to get there. And I remember I said, would you like me to use the money that for school to do the house? They hear them now? Yes, we'll eat stone. But years come on, and the house fix up and change. And I said, if we should sell this house, would you want? They said, no. I think what they have seen is the journey, and they come to accept that journey.
So for my two, Bunches would tell me that I prepare her sufficiently for life. Because my daughter is my daughter, but I don't pull punches with her, which means is I tell her the cold hard facts, right, and the cold truth. I've trained my daughter just to be very solution minded, right, and she sees that from me though, as a parent, like from me not having everything together, but being resourceful and using different tactics to win. So for Jada, she'd say, Daddy, you prepared me sufficiently for life, right? Because I laugh, because even her and her boyfriend, when they talk, I hear her put him in check sometimes, and I'm I'm like, okay.
Yes.
I have to come to her and be like, hey, no, take it easy. Like take it easy. And she's like, no, Daddy, no. I'm like, okay, all right. My son would say two things. He'd say that I'm Mr. Scotiabank because, I work hard, right, and I love what I do. But what he told me is he likes how I provide solutions at Scotiabank, and I see that in his thinking. Right, so he'd say, Dad is Mr. Scotiabank for sure. But then he'd also say that I'm firm but fair, because with boys, you gotta be firm. Like boys. as they grow older too,
Yes.
right? Oh my, listen, I don't know if it's puberty, I don't know what it is, but they transform. And what I like though is that as he transforms, my parenting evolves.
Yes.
Mm.
Good point there.
I can't parent him
Same
at
way.
15 or 16 the same way he was when he was 8.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Okay? So he'll say, Dad is Mr. Scotiabank, but he's firm, but he's fair.
That's
It's interesting. It looks like I'm going to have to do some one-on-one sessions with you guys for advice, since you are way more experienced than I am. When it comes to raising teenagers, I am seeing some changes already, and I'm preparing myself. But I think my children will say,
yes.
my mom, she's everybody's mom. She is on the sidelines. She's
That's
like,
true.
everybody know my mother. And my mother, everybody mother.
True.
And my mother, the cool mother. But she's firm. And I think they'll say I'm their biggest cheerleader, and I allow them to be themselves, find themselves.
Mhm.
But they will also say she's a little woo-woo. I've heard them say, Mom, you know you can't. And my son said to me the other day, Mom, you know when you get mad, it's like somebody else coming out.
Mighty God.
Like, you need to chill. You need to chill. You got anger issues. He said, I'm tired. I'm frustrated. So when I blow, I blow. But you know, they see it all. And the good thing is that we are here. We are here not just for our own children.
Yes.
We're here for other people's children as well, as a community and a collective. And so for everybody watching the business of parenting, it's not you alone. We're all in this business
together.
And we have so much to offer each other if we can just be authentic and share. There are rough days and there are good days.
Correct.
But the magic is that we make it happen.
Yeah.
We are here. We have survived, and we offer our support in any lesson that you learned from this podcast today from our two dynamic parents, Jason and Sharon, of Scotiabank. We call them the top Scotiabank parents for today, sharing their wisdom, sharing their children's story. I hope when the children watch it, they don't say, Mom, why did you say that?
Why did you have to say
I
that?
didn't have to say all of that. But
Talking
hey,
to my
it's done now.
boyfriend.
Sorry for your Jason.
Jason, you're in trouble after this. But hey, it's been fun. They're our kids. We gave birth to you. We're allowed to talk.
Yes,
correct.
we have the right. The only thing I'll add is that with Scotiabank, we do have some amazing credit cards that give some great rewards once you use them, particularly for back to school.
Yes.
So if you don't have a Scotiabank credit card, please apply. And if you have one, wisely use it so you can get some of these great prizes and rewards that we have going on for back to school.
That's
Great.
Always looking for a good reward for back to school.
Oh, yes.
Sharon, it's a pleasure seeing you in this capacity.
Yes.
We do cross paths with our children. And so it's really amazing to see you here today and to even hear more of your story. I thank you both for showing up. And let's keep parenting and sharing those parenting tips with everybody that we meet along the way.
Correct.
One community, one family. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the Business of Parenthood podcast, brought to you by Scotiabank Jamaica and Scotiabank Bahamas. To learn more about the financial tools mentioned, visit our websites, jm.scotiabank.com for Scotiabank Jamaica and bs.scotiabank.com for Scotiabank Bahamas.